Charlie, thanks for joining us here at Preaching Matters. You recently preached on Acts 17. What particularly interested you in that passage?
I was really excited to get the chance to look at Acts 17 in its context. I think often I've used it and other people have used it as kind of seminars and training stuff, as topical talks on how to do evangelism, but to come and look at it and say, what does Luke want to do with this speech, the speech Paul makes? And things that helped me work that out, I was really helped by people talking about the point of the whole book. So I think Acts is the sequel to Luke. Luke 1:1-4, it's all about giving people confidence. Then you look into Acts, it's all about the gospel going out. So Acts 1 verse 8, lots of people have said, is the kind of program. We're going to go Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, ends of the earth. So it's about confidence, the gospel can do that. And then in Acts itself, I've been persuaded there's kind of division markers. Every 3 or 4 chapters you get a phrase like, the church grew, or the word of God spread. And those are giving you a handle on the kind of progress and things you should be confident about. And Acts 17 comes in a section from 16 verse 6 to 19 verse 20. And the final phrase there, 19 verse 20, is the word of the Lord continued to increase and prevail mightily. So I reckon probably Acts 17's got to be making the point, the word of the Lord continued to increase and prevail mightily. But then you look at the speech and think, well, it's got some different features. That's why people have sometimes said, I guess it's a less Bible, less word type of speech. So I thought, okay, maybe this is the non-Bible bit in a section all about the Bible. So I went looking for other speeches, and actually there is only one. From 16:6 to 19:20, Paul speaks a lot, and Luke doesn't give us any of those speeches, tiny summaries. But then we get full-length Acts 17. So I reckon the point in context must be confidence in the word of God to be mighty and prevail, even if you're somewhere as scary as the Areopagus with all their intellectual pretensions.
Charlie, are you really saying that there's nothing different in this speech to the ones in the rest of Acts?
It clearly is a different kind of speech. There's different features to it. So especially different to a synagogue sermon. We get one of those from Paul earlier in Acts, and this has a different feel to it. He talks about Greek temples, he quotes, shock horror, he quotes 2 pagan poets, and people have said it's really different. It's not that different from Acts 14. In fact, it's very similar. He's talking to pagan people in the street then. It's not that, it's almost the same argument, but it has some different features. So what's going on there, and what can we prove from it? And as I worked on it, 2 slightly shocking things came out. I'll do the less shocking one first. So one is actually, I just kept finding loads of Bible stuff in it. And lots of commentaries point this out. Lots of commentaries will take you through the ways the speech interacts with Epicurean and Stoic philosophy, which it does, but also take you through how he's just taking Bible ideas and giving them to the Athenians. And then what really hit me was the Bible idea he talks about most explicitly is the idea of God doesn't live in temples because he made everything. And it struck me that not only is that a Bible idea from loads of Bible verses in the Old Testament, it's in fact the same Bible idea that Stephen uses in his speech to the Sanhedrin. So yes, the speech has a different flavour, but actually it's a Bible talk, Bible verses behind almost everything he says. And it's even the same Bible talk that Stephen uses to a very Jewish audience, the Sanhedrin. Paul's using the same Bible idea, almost word for word, straight from Isaiah, when he's with the Areopagus, the Greek context. Then the other thing I did was look at all the ways in which people say this is a really clever piece of contextualization. And they talk about how well Paul has understood Greek culture and how much he must know things. And this was slightly shocking, almost blasphemous, I think, to say, actually it just struck me, I'm not sure Paul does anything really clever here. Paul's a really clever man and he does lots of these very clever things, but here, I think any Christian could do what he does here. He's paid attention to who he's speaking to, he knows a bit about them, he knows some Greek religion, but so would anyone who'd grown up in a city in the Greco-Roman world. He's read some Greek poets, but again, it seems that these aren't kind of obscure works. These are the kind of thing anyone might know about. And he's put it together into a talk that engages with them, but a Bible talk that engages with them. It has different features, but it's not doing anything radically different.
In your sermon, you said that you prefer the term personalization to contextualization. Why is that?
I think contextualization has become a big buzzword that means lots of things to lots of different people. I don't want to run it down. I don't want to say that some of that work I haven't found very helpful. My worry is that it's become something we need before we can talk to someone about the gospel. Whereas personalisation, I think, just keeps it clear what we need. We need me, a Christian with God's Spirit. We need a Bible, because that's where the gospel is and where God's power is. And I need a person to talk to. And as I talk to them, if I love them, if I care about them, I'm thinking about them as a person. Whereas contextualisation keeps the focus on their context, their culture, their background, and things I can study without them even in the room. Whereas personalisation means them, what are they saying? Two groups of people really have been kind of interacting with what I said since the sermon, where this kind of how this works out. One group is missionaries. I don't think I'd really realised this was such a big issue, but that contextualisation has become a huge part of missionary training and what missionaries are doing when they're out there. And you can see the sense in that. If you take someone who's very English like me and drop them in another culture, you could be really stupid about that if you didn't realise you were somewhere else, so realise you're in a different context. But again, I think personalisation might be better. So I had an email from a missionary where he's saying the people he is working with, they're not the same as their broader culture. They're people, and they respond differently. And what he needs to do is listen to them. And actually what helps him listen to them isn't the contextualisation training he did, but is the Bible. Second example would be in the student evangelism world, which is the world I know best. And really often you meet students who don't have confidence that if they take a friend to the Bible, that will help their friends. They're reluctant to invite to a Bible talk or a talk about Jesus in a way they're not reluctant to invite to an apologetics talk, somebody very expert talking about an issue of philosophy or an academic interest. And I think we have trained them to be like that. So I think we've said things like, your context is very intellectual, very academic, you need to be able to engage in that arena, and here is the sort of academic data you need to do that. And as we've got better and better people to do that, and they've done it better and better, those talks have got longer and more detailed and more expert. And I think without meaning it, we've communicated student with the Spirit, with the Bible, isn't enough. You need some of that expertise. And again, I don't want to be misheard. I have found those kind of expert things helpful. I read those books, I use them when I'm talking to people. But actually, Luke, I think, would want to teach us, even on the Areopagus, if you've got a Bible and you can understand people a bit and react to their questions, just open the Bible and get going, rather than thinking you need a deep, such kind of different approach, different understanding for their context.
And how have you found Acts 17 helpful in your evangelism?
I think in my own evangelism, I find I'm both arrogant and insecure at the same time, which is a really bad combination. So I feel I should be able to answer everybody's questions. I feel if I have a conversation with someone and they don't come out Christian, I've failed somehow. I should have known what to say. I should have had the right thing ready. I love to win an argument. I get sucked into arguments really easily. But also I'm scared. So there's people I'm scared of, normally because I fear losing their good opinion of me, that sort of thing. And so that makes me want to hold back, and makes me really open to the kind of, you need to get more ready before you talk. Obviously, we need to be prepared to give an answer. I think that's more about heart attitude, ready to talk to anybody. I know the gospel, I can't wait to be asked. And that's not always how I feel. And I think Acts 17 says, you have everything you need. If you carry a Bible with you, if you're a Christian, pray, trust God, trust the Spirit to work through His Word, you've got what you need. And just to keep going to the Bible with people, as you know, whatever they ask about, as soon as you can, I want to be in the Bible talking about Jesus.
Charlie, thanks for joining us here at Preaching Matters. Bye.